Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Justin of Brady Joiner Bricks. I'm super excited to have you here today for this fun conversation that we get to have with my friend, Nick Micheels, the Lego fan designer for Lego Twilight. So the set is called Twilight, the Cullen House. As you've probably seen and are very familiar with. I know we've got some big fans of Twilight in the house and big fans of Lego, and hopefully a crossover between the two. One of the things that I love so much about being a Lego ambassador is getting the opportunity to connect with people who are the designers behind these builds. And in this case, Nick is actually a personal friend, so that's really cool to get to interview him and share him with you today. He's funny, he's great, he's super talented and super creative. And I'm excited to have him join. I've been a Lego ambassador since 2023. It's a super fun role. I get to share feedback back and forth between fans and the Lego community or the Lego company. And so as we're talking about this set and any other set as well, I take the feedback that regular Lego builders and fans share with me, and I pass that back on to the Lego group too. So something that I love is being that conduit and hopefully the representative of the community to them. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome our friend Nick to the stage. Yay! Woo! Hi,
Yay.
Nick.
How's it going?
Good. What time is it there?
It's 4:05 p.m.
4:05.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm on the West Coast.
West Coast. I am Central Time Zone, so it's 6 p.m. or 6:05 p.m. our time. The weather here has been really cold, but then it started to warm up again today. We got rain, so that's not my favorite, but that's okay. So.
Hey, it's perfect for today.
It is perfect for today, right?
Yeah.
Feels spot on.
It's a good omen.
It is, for sure. Well, I've prepared some questions for Nick, and I've got some of them on my phone, so I'm going to be referring back and forth to that a little bit. And also, as I prepared the questions, I was taking questions from you all. So thank you for those who submitted things in advance. I also built the set with my husband last night, and we just finished it. So I've got it here. Right here. And Nick also has one of his copies as well. So we can show you some glimpses of the set too as he's answering some of your questions, but also use that to prepare some questions that I had as well from a Lego perspective. That said, if you have more questions, drop them in the chat and we might get to them throughout the conversation. So so Philip is my husband, and it says Philip and Justin whenever he comments. I'm Justin. It says, been super wet and gloomy here in Texas. Just got us in the Pacific Northwest mood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nick, tell us about yourself. Who are you?
Yeah. I'm Nick. My name's Nick Micheels. I go by Lobster Thermidor, which was it's kind of related to this set, and I'll get to that too. But yeah, I obviously I love all things Lego and all things Twilight, and I thought I'd put those things together, and it seems to have paid off, which makes me very happy to see that other people wanted to see this as well.
Yeah. Awesome. And when you were thinking about Lego Ideas, is this the first submission that you ever did for anything, or have you done other Lego Ideas submissions before?
Yeah, so I did one before this. I tried my hand at the BBC version of Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch. Yeah, I submitted the hospital in the Reichenbach Fall episode. I loved that show, and so I thought, oh yeah, that'd be kind of a funny thing to post. And so I tried that one. It wasn't my best. It didn't do very well. And then I didn't think about it again for a long time. I always loved Lego Ideas and voting on the ideas that I liked. And then I just had the idea, like, okay, I think this would be a pretty funny idea as well. So then I submitted. So this would be my second project that I submitted.
Okay.
And one of like the first, I guess, mocks I ever made. So It kind of got me hooked on the whole mock building experience as well.
Yeah, good stuff. And so Nick just said mocks as well, so I want to share what that means. So mock is my own creation. That means it's a Lego design that I built, or one that Nick built, without instructions. So it came out of our heads. Can you tell everyone a little bit more about Lego Ideas and how that platform works? Just a brief overview.
Yeah, sure. So, in general, it's a website that Lego operates, where fans like me or you can submit an idea that we think might be a fun Lego set. And if the community supports it enough, so if it reaches 10,000 votes, then Lego will actually look at the idea and put it under review. And if they decide that they think there's a market for it and they want to produce it, then they go ahead and they do so, and they redesign your idea, and will produce it just like any other Lego set, and it'll go on the shelves.
Yay!
Yeah.
So the Twilight set, the Twilight, the Cullen House that Nick designed, is available on store shelves because he designed it initially, and also because many of you and lots of people around the globe voted for this to be a real set. So really exciting. Tell us about the journey to 10,000. What did that look like for you with Twilight?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was a shock. So, like I mentioned, I had submitted one idea before, and it got like maybe 300 votes.
Okay.
And I tried, promoting it a little bit, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is really hard. This will be really hard to get votes. And so when I submitted this one, my goal was to get more than 300, and to hit 1,000. I was like, that would be so cool, like to have that badge that says like you got 1,000 votes. And it was just an idea that I had. I can't even remember if I was watching the movie or what, but I guess to bring back in my username here, one of my favorite movies to watch with my wife and kids is the Lego Batman movie.
Yes.
Yeah, with Will Arnett. And one of my personal favorite scenes is when he heats up the lobster thermidor in the microwave.
Yeah.
And I just thought, okay, that's like peak humor. Lego nails it with their humor, and I just thought, like, they're so good at taking these really serious and dramatic themes and movies or IPs, and just by making it Lego, it becomes hilarious. And they're so good at the comedy of it all. So I thought, like, Twilight would be perfect. I thought a Twilight movie would be just hilarious. Whether you love Twilight or you hate Twilight or you love to hate Twilight, I just thought like that would be a very funny movie. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to make something Twilight, and I'm going to post it just because it makes me happy to imagine that. And I worked on it for maybe like a month or so.
Okay.
Usually late at night, on my laptop. I did it. I created this one all digitally on my computer, and my wife would wake up in the middle of the night and be like, "What are you doing?" And I'd be like, "I'm gonna I'm gonna win Lego Ideas. Trust me." Totally joking, thinking like, yeah, totally thinking nobody's gonna want this, and except for me. And then I submitted the idea. I think it was like February 3rd. And by the end of February 4th, it reached 10,000. And it was just, it was,
oh my gosh,
wild. I remember I went on Reddit to share the idea, to promote it. And I saw that another Lego Ideas user was very gracious and already did, like, immediately put it on Reddit. And then it hit the Twilight Reddit page. Then it hit a Facebook group, which, if you know, the rats came through. I learned so much about the Twilight fan community that it's amazing. I mean, they were like, they made it their mission to have this set become a reality. And it was pretty mind-blowing how quickly it happened.
I love that so much, both for you and also for the fan community, to get something now in Lego shops that represents something that's so near and dear to their heart.
Absolutely.
One of the things you mentioned is your love of humor and the way that Lego plays with humor with bricks. And it reminded me of two things. One is currently, if you don't know, there is a looped 2-hour video that you can watch of the Lego characters playing around in the Cullen House. So really incredible. Were you involved in that at all?
No, that was a complete surprise to me.
Oh my gosh, that's
And
awesome.
I mean,
Mhm.
so the way it works, I learned from this process is I had a lot of communication with the design team.
Mm-hmm.
And they let me know kind of when the design was finalizing and it was wrapping up. They're like, okay, you're kind of not going to hear from us much anymore.
Yeah.
The marketing team's going to start taking over,
Yeah.
and really, like, you don't really get to know about all that. And
Sure.
so it was really just like a full circle moment for me, because again, like, I imagine in my head like a movie, a Lego Twilight movie, and I
Yeah.
feel like, I got my dream. So
Yeah.
yeah, so when I saw that, I saw the short come up, and I was like, oh my gosh, they did it. And then I watched the full length YouTube thing just in the background, and every time something new would pop up, my daughter would be like, oh my gosh, look, and we would just crack up. So funny.
My favorite part in there so far, so we watched a part of it. We didn't watch the full 2 hours, but I think it loops. So I watched
Yeah.
most of the 30 minutes of it. But my favorite part was Bella ringing the doorbell incessantly.
I know, yes. And then Rosalie dropping the bowl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dropping the bowl.
So good.
Yeah, so good.
So
And
good. Yeah.
nice twist on why she dropped the bowl in the, from
Yeah.
the way to, yeah. So yeah, that was silly. But the other thing that it reminded me of, and this came to mind because I rewatched the Lego Movie 2 recently, but there was a kind of hidden Twilight reference in there. Have you seen it, or do you know what I'm talking about?
I vaguely, when you say that, I vaguely remember that, but what, like a reference to vampires? No.
Reference to vampires, yeah.
Yes,
So there's a vampire that's all sparkly blue face, and it's a mini doll. So for those not familiar, well, here's an example. This is a mini doll, which is designed by Lego, but it has different like curves and shapes and designs to them. This is a mini figure, also designed by Lego. This is a customized one that I made to look like Glinda before we got the Wicked sets. But the Wicked sets they chose to do with mini dolls, and some people were mad about that. I actually love it. But in the Lego Movie 2, this is a vampire that is in the mini doll format. And they make jokes and references to him having sparkly skin and avoiding the light and all this kind of stuff. So it made me giggle because I knew we were coming up to this awesome conversation. So, and I'll have to send you the link because I think I literally just recorded it from my phone as I was watching it. So,
I love it. Yeah. I mean, all the Lego movies are gold. They're
the humor is just
yeah.
so good.
It's so good.
Yeah. So talking about the set, so you put it up on Lego Ideas, you get the 10,000 votes.
Yes.
After that, Lego reviews it.
Yep.
In most cases, for people to know, they don't move on from that point. So there's a lot of people who hit that 10,000 mark that their set just lives on in infamy of maybe one day a set will come out like this. But Lego picks usually one or two of every 50-ish that come through. So after that point, what happens? What does that process look like?
Yeah, so I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, and that's kind of where my head was at. I was just so stoked that it hit 10,000. I just, once I saw it cross that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's like dream come true. I hit 10,000 on a project. I'll get a consolation prize, But yeah, so it goes into review, and I forget how long this review process was. It kind of depends on when your idea hits that 10,000 mark, but it'll go in a batch with other projects that hit 10,000 at the time.
Cool.
And this one went in with 70 other projects, which was, at the time at least, it was the biggest batch of projects at the same time. And of that 71 sets, 2 got chosen, which was Twilight and The Amazing Botanical Garden, which is also out now.
Oh my gosh, incredible.
So yeah, and I remember it was up against some really great ideas. So again, in my head, I was like, man, like, I didn't even let my mind go there. I just did not expect I was going to get picked. But yeah, so I got a phone call in October. Okay. Or I got an email saying, hey, can we ask you some questions? Okay. And then I got a phone call in October 2 years ago, or October of last year, early morning, because they're in Denmark and I'm all the way in California. So it was like 5 a.m. and had a conversation. They just let me know over the webcam, hey, you got picked. We're going to do it. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a cool moment. That's really neat.
Yeah.
And then there's people on the Lego end, on the design team that you partner with and work with. So what is your involvement look like with them?
Sorry, what was that?
What does your involvement look like with Lego designers?
Yeah, so I wasn't sure what it would look like. In that initial phone call, one of the questions they asked was, how involved do you want to be in this project? And I answered as quick as I could. I said, like, as involved as I possibly can be. And then I'll try to be even more so. So letting them know I wanted to be involved. I expected to have more of a spectator kind of role, but it was really great. They actually, they would meet with me once a month, virtually, and they'd show me where they're at and the progress. And then I would get to give any input or, kind of, if I had suggestions. They were very open to my thoughts. Keeping in mind that more importantly than working with me, they also had to work with the IP partner, which in this case was Lionsgate, and Stephanie Meyer herself was involved.
Cool.
Which is, there's an Easter egg in here from her, which everybody's been asking me nonstop what it is. And I'm just, so I feel like I should probably answer that question, but I think you're going to be very disappointed by my answer, and I only know I can do it because the Lego group already answered it. So Anyway, so I got to. Oh, and they also asked me to send them a wish list of anything I want included. So like, I just made a long list with everything I hoped would be in there. And just waited to see what would stick and what wouldn't, so it was a monthly meeting throughout the design process, through every iteration of the build.
Awesome. And what are the names of the designers that worked with you from Lego, if you remember?
Absolutely. How could I forget? Laura Perron was she was the main model designer. So she really took over on the set, which was perfect because she's a Twilight fan. I feel like there couldn't have been a better designer for the job. And she let me know right away, like, she was stoked, and that she read all the books and went to all the movie premieres and stuff. So we geeked out a lot over like memes and Twilight memes and all the funny stuff. And we got to talk a lot about Easter eggs and things like that we wanted included. And then the design lead was Jordan. Jordan, sorry. Jordan Dezane. That's it. Okay, sorry, I had to pull up his last name. And then Ashwin did the all the graphic design. So the minifigure torsos, faces, all of the stickers.
Fantastic.
And then there were some other hands as well. Some other designers worked on the car, and I know like the print on the wolf eyes, I believe. And then contributions with the wolf in general, which we can talk about as well.
Which, y'all, this is such an incredible tiny build. It's like the perfect scale with the minifigures. And I know you're going to talk about it, but like, I just had to bring it up because I built this last night and was obsessed. So I want to mention a couple things. One is I got to interview Laura before. So it's super fun. I got to interview her with the fan designer of the family tree set. So I'll drop a link to that if you're interested in getting to know her a little bit better, so that you can hear a little bit more about her journey. That was last January. So before she was working on, she couldn't tell me she was working on Twilight, I suppose. So she might have already been at that point. And then Jordan, I got to know, he came to a convention, so we got to connect, and he's been heavily involved in a lot of the other Lego Ideas sets, including the Dungeons and Dragons one. So lots of really cool things. I don't know the graphic designer yet, so hopefully someday I'll get to connect with them. So, and Philip had mentioned, love the graduation caps display sticker. So we were watching the movie we watched movies 1, 2, and 3 this week. We watched the first movie Tuesday night. Yes, thank you for showing it. Watched it Tuesday night, and and I didn't have the set in hand. It arrived on our doorstep yesterday, so hadn't looked at it really all that much, other than some of the pictures online. So watching the movie, I was studying the house to then, as we're building it, think about like, oh, this is where that was in it. And the graduation caps, that was the piece of art that I thought was probably the most important piece of art to go in there. But I'm curious, were there other pieces of art you wanted to squeeze in? Because that house is full of such incredible detail. So were there other things that you wanted in there, or things that like were on the wish list that got added to it from your fan design?
Yeah, so one important thing to note, if you're familiar with like my design for the submission, I put on the walls a graphic for each of the book covers, recreated in Lego form.
Yeah.
So that was one that I expected would be in there.
Yeah.
But one of the things with this set is it's based on the movies and not the books. So that's like an important distinction. So they couldn't use any references to the books. It had to be to the movie. So all kind of on the same page about that.
Yeah.
As far as like the other artwork goes, I knew I mean, like you said, the graduation caps is, it's integral to the story. So that had to be there. And I knew that I wanted there to be some baseball references as well, because how could there not be? It's what they do. And I can't think of any other artwork. I put just some modern art in there. But really, during the design process, that really is the best way to put in some Easter eggs, is just, wall art. And for sure.
There was one tile that I was putting a sticker on when I was finishing the records that said something specific. Can you tell us about that?
Could it be Yogurt Funny?
It could be.
Could it be?
Yeah.
Are you wondering if was that my idea?
I mean,
that was not my idea. No, that was that. Here's what how about this? I'll go through, if you don't mind. Can I just show the wall art?
Would love
to. I didn't take this one out. So this is from Edward's room. This is, his CD case. I took out some of the art, but we'll start with the there's your little Claire de Lune reference there, which I love that they were able to put that in there.
Sorry, I'm trying to flip it so that you're on the screen bigger than me.
Oh, sure.
Okay, I'm just gonna, let's see. Well, thanks for your patience, everybody. I want to highlight yours. This is the fun of technology and navigating some of this together. Okay, I'm going to. Why can't I highlight you? I'm so sorry. We tried this earlier and it worked. So let's see. I'm going to remove me and put you up there. So.
Okay. All right. Oh, okay. All right. So here we have the Claire de Lune album, which, you got to have that for Bella and Edward to dance to. Then we've got, let's see. This is a great little Easter egg here. If you can see, I really wanted, one of the wish lists I had was to put some eggs in the build, so that we did have a reference to Emmett. So we got our eggs. Our eggs here for Emmett to pretend that he's eating. You got some onions in there, a little bit gold, and some tomatoes, blood red tomatoes. This is one that I'm most proud of that made it in here. I put on my wish list that it wasn't on this was a late request I had. I said, can we please put up a picture of the Loch Ness Monster, and in reference to Renaissance. And we've got Loch Ness right there swimming around. This is by the piano. I love this one. And then very graciously, Lego put some Easter eggs in there, or some references to me, which I thought was very cool. So this is the N92's album with a lobster on it for Lobster Thermidor. Obviously, it's a play on the B-52s. I'm also a drummer, so it's like it all. They're so clever to integrate a lot of what I do, and I did put. I would love if they could sneak a lobster in there somewhere, selfishly. And then another thing they did, which I really loved, is this is actually a reference to another Lego Ideas submission I had that also reached 10,000 but did not get approved. And that was right after Twilight got approved. And it was my landscape photographer set, which is based on Ansel Adams. Go check it out if you want. And this is based off of one of Ansel Adams's famous photographs. And I'll skip ahead here, but this is the one everybody wants to know about.
Yeah.
Yogurt Funny.
Yogurt Funny.
This is an Easter egg that Stephanie Meyer really wanted to put in the set, and she did not say what it meant.
Oh.
So there's your disappointing answer. But it's a very personal, a very personal reason that she wanted that in there.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll leave it to the internet to try and figure it out, because they'll probably do it much faster than I could.
Right? Yes. Yeah. Everybody, figure it out for us. Let us know, please.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I love that the lobster was a reference to you. I was hoping that was the case with that. So that makes me so happy. And then also the other one, I didn't know what it was for. So that's really cool to hear that it was your other 10K.
Yeah, I was so happy about that. And I think it works nicely. It's supposed to be like a photo book. On the coffee, like a coffee table photo book, which is nice to have for any house, right?
Yeah, exactly. Every house needs a photo book. That is cool. Well, thank you for showing the details. Were there others that you wanted to show, or?
No, I mean, we got the baseball bats, which is great. And then you have, I didn't pull this one out, but you have the Cullen family crests in there as well. And then you have this kind of just, it looks almost like a reference to Bella's bedspread. Kind of just has a Twilight esque energy to it. And of course, here's the again the graduation caps, which I think looks so good.
Yeah.
And again, it's perfect for the scale. Just like in the movie, my submission, the hats were not even hats. They were just little
squares,
Lego pieces. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, the scale is perfect. And honestly, that part is like, it's heartbreaking, heartbreaking reason that they have that piece of art. So, but meaningful.
I love that you see it that way.
That's how I saw it. Yeah.
You're so compassionate. I think a lot of people just find it hilarious.
Oh my gosh. I guess, sure. It depends on you. So, and then Philip says, I think it was for our dog Penny because she loves yogurt and it makes her super happy. Yes, that's what it was for. And
it's a good theory. I'm going to go with that. Yeah.
For sure. So you're getting all kinds of really fun comments in the chat about how great you are. So just want you to know, and I've been trying to highlight some of those as we go through. And then also there are a couple other questions that have come through. I haven't been highlighting them yet because Nick will get to them. And those are ones that we already talking about. So I'll make sure that those come up if they don't at the time. So let me look through my questions and see. One question that's come up quite a bit, and you can answer it now, or you can hold off if you want to show your slides and pictures as a part of this, but was how are the decisions made around which minifigures go in? Did you have specific ones that you wanted to see, which I'm pretty sure you did? Since as we submit these designs, we pick what we want to have go in there. And how does that whole process work? Because some people are super sad that they're missing some characters they love. No, I have been getting this question a lot. Where are
Esme, Emmett, and Jasper.
Yeah.
Part of me wants to just say they're in there. They're just running so fast you can't see them. Another part of me wants to say that they are out hunting
Okay.
at the time of this build. So
That's fair.
yeah, maybe they'll. Yeah, I don't know. But the serious answer that I'll give everybody because they deserve it is I obviously, you know, when I submitted this, I only put 4 minifigures in my submission idea, but obviously I was hoping for as many minifigures as possible. So
Yeah.
in my request, you know, I said I want as many, you know, characters as you can put in here, and of course that's easy for me to say, and for us to want. But the way it works at Lego, I learned, is they have a certain number of frames, is what they call them.
Okay.
Which the way I understand it, it's almost like a currency that they use in order to, because they produce so many different sets, they can only produce so many different prints or minifigures or new designs for each set. So they're limited by how many frames they have available to make a set viable as a product.
Sure.
And ultimately, they had to work with the IP partner Lionsgate to determine within the amount of frames that they had for minifigures, which characters would get included. And so Lionsgate had the final say in which characters were going to go into this set.
Sure.
And it was determined that, and this is not me saying this, but that the most popular characters from the franchise would be included, which works out to be what you see here. And I think it makes sense that if you had to choose the characters for this scene that was used a lot in reference, like in the first movie, and there are references to the second movie as well, obviously with Jacob being a wolf, that you're able to play out a lot of the scenes from the movie with these characters. And we had to have Charlie, so Charlie had to be in there. So there was no question about that. But I understand people wishing they had all the characters. And what I would say to that, and some people have already been saying this, is, you know, I have seen other ideas, Lego ideas that have been produced. Like I think of Sonic the Hedgehog, that was a Lego Ideas submission, and Friends from the TV show. That was a Lego Ideas submission. Those were both so popular that Lego then continued to produce other sets from those series. So if this house sells well, if people love it, this is me shamelessly urging people to continue to vote for it by buying the set. If you show them that you want these characters and you want this house, then they're more likely to consider maybe making more Twilight sets. And then, I mean, then we'd have to have Emmett and Jasper and Esme. So, I mean, along with the Volturi, there were so many characters I wish could have been in here, but you gotta take what you can get.
I am dropping in a pre-order link if people wanted to pre-order it. It looks weird, and that's because it's through Rakuten, and that's something where when people buy through that link, it gives me a small kickback for doing stuff as a Lego ambassador. Being perfectly honest, you can also go to the Lego website yourself and just pre-order it directly. But if you wanted to support me and my channel, that would be great. And if you want to support Nick and to support the continued growth of Twilight, get the set. So it's pre-order now. It's available February 1st, right?
Yep.
And so it's right around the corner as well, that you could walk into a Lego store. I would say if you want to do that, to get at the Lego store before they open and stand in line, because chances are this will have a long line. But there will be people who do that as well. So, and Philip had said his most urgent question, why no abs torso for Jacob? And I have to agree that that seems missing for me. But one thing I'll say is just like
they're in there. They did add some. They did add.
They did, yes. I guess he probably meant shirtless.
Yes, of course.
So just like with Galinda, we've got this version of her that I mocked up with some of our other ones. I have a few torsos that are from some of the other Lego sets that we could also swap on to make it work for Jacob. So we have a solution there. I also real quickly want to show you my solution for Emmett. Moment.
That's one of the great things about Lego is, like, if there's something you want, like if you want more trees, now you can take one of these trees and get the parts to make another one. You can make changes to make it exactly how you want it. So
For
I'm
sure.
excited to see
Yeah, I'm
what you
sure.
got here for Emmett.
Right? I'm sure people will fill the scene with more of those trees too, which will be wonderful. Here's my solution for Emmett. So this Emmett from the Lego Movie is going to be joining the Cullens and
That's
hanging out
perfect.
there as well. So that's my
Yep.
solution. I also
That,
looked to see if there's a Jasper minifig, and there is a Jesper, Jesper, from Ninjago. It is in
okay.
one set, so it's very expensive and hard to find, and I don't have it yet. And there's also a Jasper, a little rounded cylinder piece that has a frozen Jasper from Simpsons in the Quickie Mart. So there are
That's amazing.
two legit Lego
Yep.
characters you could pull in as proxies
Perfect.
for the moment. So yeah.
Perfect.
Some
Yeah.
options, yeah. But yes, this Emmett will be joining because it just made me giggle so much when I heard the name and was like, oh my gosh, I have probably 12 of him.
I love it. He's going to look so perfectly out of place. I
Yeah,
love it.
exactly. And that's what I wanted. So
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But yes, as Nick said, a lot of the Lego Ideas sets end up becoming Lego themes later, which is really cool. Not a lot of them, I should say some of them do.
Yes.
And we've seen that happen a few times over, which is really cool. I think especially the ones that sell well, because that's what they're looking for is like, are people interested? I see in the chat someone had asked about if you're going to design another one and made a suggestion about Jacob's house. I've also heard suggestions around Bella's house. If you were to design another Twilight set, do you already have in mind anything that you would want to focus on, or if you feel comfortable sharing?
I mean, if you follow my Instagram page, you can see I've submitted, or I post on there a lot of other Twilight Lego stuff because again, I love it. So I've already designed Bella's house.
Okay. Yay!
It's a little bit different. I did a dollhouse style for that one because I thought that one I want to be able to maybe bring with me to conventions and things. And I did a I guess like MIDI scale, MIDI figure kind of scale sculpture of Edward and Bella in the woods when he's telling her that she is his own personal brand of heroin.
Yeah.
So and you can also see some you can go back and see like what my submissions were like Twilight related. The Ideas program, the Lego Ideas website, does not allow, once they pick up a theme, they make it off limits for other people, including myself. So I can't submit any more ideas Twilight related to become a product. But I certainly have been begging the Lego designers to hire me as a consultant on future Twilight projects. So no, but yeah, I have told them I would love, I mean, I think they should make as many Twilight products as possible, because I think Bella's house, Jacob's house, everybody wants the baseball scene. I think what's tricky about this movie is a lot of it happens kind of just in the woods and in nature, and so not all of it translates very well to to a product, but I think there definitely are some really great ideas that you could make into future Lego sets.
I think so too. When we were watching the films again and we were talking about what other scenes could we see play out as an actual visual. And we watched it with our good friend Marianne, who loves Twilight and has seen these many times before and read the books and everything. And it was fun to hear her take on it too. And so she was saying the Volturi. I was like, oh, that would actually
I love that.
Interesting. So
check out my Instagram. I did a Volturi for sure.
Oh my gosh, send it to her.
I don't know if I have it here, but I made their little thrones.
Which
I'm very proud of the design on those thrones. If you want to go check it out,
oh my gosh,
I think you'd like it, Justin. It's very detail oriented. So
cool.
And that was a big focus just on getting the characters expressions and faces right. And so check that out. I would love a Volturi like gift with purchase in the future with a. So here's what it is. Lego, if you're watching,
yes,
we the people want Bella's house, with Emmett, Jasper, and Esme
Of course.
visiting.
Of
I guess
course.
we'll
Like
find a reason for Esme to be there.
sure.
But Emmett and Jasper are definitely.
Yeah.
And the gift with purchase should be the Volturi throne room.
This is
So,
perfect. I love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah. Oh, that's so fun. Well, and I love what you said too about, or I think it's interesting what you said too about when something gets picked up and they no longer allow it in Lego Ideas. I want to share a little bit about the behind the scenes with some of that I'm aware of. Lego has to have agreements with IP partners, so that's intellectual property. What we mean by IP, and in this case, it's Lionsgate, and it would probably be Stephanie Meyer, I would assume as well. But they have to license the product and the designs in order to produce the Twilight set. So it would be different if they were to pick a Lego Ideas idea that didn't have anything connected to it from an IP standpoint. Then they don't really have to work with an IP partner on it. But in most cases, people are building and designing things that are, based on a movie or a TV show or a book series or something like that, something in pop culture. The challenge is, as soon as they have that relationship with that IP partner, they have restrictions and guidance and everything that they have to do with them. So some people get really upset that like, oh, I really wanted to also design, or I was working on a Twilight design too, and it's not fair and all that kind of stuff. It's not that they're trying to prevent you from doing that. It's more that all of that is like a legal thing every single time with those IP partners. And so if they were to be able to even produce more of the Twilight sets too, likely, actually 100%, Lionsgate would also have to allow them to continue to produce it as well. So Lionsgate, if you're listening, listen back to what Nick said about wet sets too.
yeah, I could do it again if you want.
Yes,
No,
and make sure Nick is involved because this is amazing. So
I don't even need to be involved. I'll just buy them. I'll just buy them.
I want you involved personally.
Yeah.
Cool. Yay! I'm trying to look through and see if there were other questions that I wanted to for sure ask. But some of them are more like Lego Ideas and just in general. So
Yeah.
Before we get to any of that, do you want to talk any more about what you submitted and share anything about what changed or any of those? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is I'll talk about the changes. I think this is if you've been following Lego Ideas, it's very common for a submission to go through a lot of changes to become an actual Lego product, and this was no exception. And I think people can tell that it is different than my submission, and I want to use this opportunity to show people why and what's so great about the changes, because I think it went from good to fantastic. And I actually have here a slide show. It's not like a slideshow. I just have some pictures to show you about to show you kind of what I was using as a reference for my design.
Yes.
And then versus what was used as a reference for the final product.
Awesome.
So if we can,
you're also answering a question. Someone had just asked, what were your inspiration for the house designs? Another question asked was book or movie, which you already touched on, but if you want to talk about that as you're answering too.
Yeah, so I believe the house in the book is described very differently than the house that they used for the movies. I believe it's like a white house in the books that is not so modern, and don't quote me on that. But anyway, I definitely used the movie as inspiration, but actually I found out I didn't use the movie very accurately for my submission. I used this photo and other photos like it, which is the same house, but I'm going to show you some very important distinctions.
Yeah.
So this was like one of the main images I used to design my submission. And you can see the wood looks a little darker in this image. And you can see that it's also a very long shape. The form of the house is a lot different. And here's the same house from this view. What is important to note here, though, is this is not what the house looks like in the movies at all. There's a whole section of the house right here that was added after the movies to the real house. This is a real house. This is the Hoke house.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I see this is a Portland house, different than what's used in the movie. Yeah. So for the movie, they used this house, but they used this house. Here we go.
Okay.
And it went through renovations, which added on a whole other portion, basically 30% bigger. And that was in the first movie. Then they moved into using a soundstage to replicate the house. And in the process, even the interior changed so much that was a big challenge in like submitting. The idea was, what version of this house am I going to submit? So just a comparison, you can see that Lego really nailed the colors and the proportions and the size of the house as it actually was used in the original film. And so I think people understandably saw my submission and saw this and thought, oh, it's a lot smaller. But it turns out, it's smaller because it was smaller for the movies. This was the actual size of the house when the first movie was made.
Okay.
So that was just something I wanted to point out. And again, I even chopped off a part of my submission so that you could see that's how big my submission should have been if I was basing it on the movies and not the actual livable house as it is today. So that was something I learned speaking with the designers. They were like, oh yeah, well, technically it actually is this size, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I guess I could have done better research in my design. But so that was just something I really thought I'd share. So that kind of answers the question people said, like what's with the color change? I used a reddish brown here. You can see it's a lot darker and black. These are the colors that Lego decided to go with, which is more representative of the real building, which is great for people who also want a house just to represent the house, and maybe they're not even Twilight fans,
It is a gorgeous build.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I think this will sell well even with people who aren't Twilight fans, because it's such a stunning visual. The build techniques throughout are great, and the furniture throughout is just fantastic. My personal favorite is the piano, but all of it is really incredible. So very well done.
Great. So I also have in here, I thought it might be interesting to talk about the wolf build a little bit.
Please.
So funny thing about that. Oh, and here's the tree. I had to cut the tree down a lot to make it meet the piece count for the submission. But also here's what I started with. When I was designing my submission, I was like, I'm just gonna add Jacob's wolf in here, Jacob as a wolf in here, and I just started sculpting a wolf head. And I don't know what I was thinking. I got this far and I said, what, like, this is gonna be a humongous wolf, right? So then I was like, no, I want to keep it in scale with the rest of the build. And that's where you have this is my submission wolf. This is what you would see when you voted on the design. And again, he's still too big. If you put Edward here for reference, he's still
a very giant wolf.
Yes, it's a big boy. So that wouldn't do. And Laura Perron messaged me and said, hey, we are still working on the wolf. It needs to be smaller. And it was great. She said, do you have any other designs that you can send? Where we're kind of putting our heads together to try and figure out how we can make a wolf the size it needs to be. So I sent another idea that was smaller, but it was still too big. And I believe other designers at the Lego group all kind of had a little, almost like a playful competition to see like who can build a wolf this size, and they took, I think Laura took all those ideas and distilled it down. And that's how we ended up with this beautiful creature, which you can see. Actually, here, I'll flip my camera here.
Can you hear me right now, Nick?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I wanted to make sure that you could see the two side by side, but
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Here's
So that's your original.
That's my original, and that's the size it needed to be. So it maybe doesn't look like a big change, but from your experience, I'm sure as a builder,
Oh my
that
God.
that is not easy to do, to make something still look detailed and have expression,
Or
and be much smaller in
yeah,
size. So
yeah. Can you zoom in on the face of the new one? Or
yeah,
the set? I want to show off those details. So one thing Nick mentioned is there are graphic designers involved in all of the sets. That's graphic design work to create those eyes to make them look realistic. And they're
yeah,
beautiful prints.
yeah.
Agreed with Philip says in the comments and others too about how how both are great. I do think the scale of the one that's in the set fits better with the final scale. But I just have to say, this well, go back one slide to the one that you had with
Oh,
Jake.
sure.
Um, brick sculpting is when you take Lego bricks and you sculpt with them like your art medium. This is an example of why Nick is incredible, y'all. Like this face, the shape of this, to be able to technically put all those pieces together in a way that creates all of the rounded shapes and everything, has building studs out. So that's where the studs are going sideways instead of just up and down. Like this is super complicated to do. And I just wanted to give you major props for this. Both
Oh,
this
thank you.
head, but then also zoom it down to the smaller wolf, and then the even smaller one that fits the scale better. All of that is
Yeah.
very complicated to do, and you nailed it. I thought.
Oh,
So yeah.
thank you so much. That means a lot. And yeah, I didn't point out, but this wolf right here
Yeah.
is not my submission. This is one that I sent a smaller iteration. You can see the teeth are totally different. They're pointing down, instead of, jutting out of the front. Um, and he doesn't have these kind of uh, two segments to his torso.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my attempt to make them smaller, but again, it was just too big.
Yeah.
And that's where it was like, yeah, Lego needed to take over and do what they do best, and
Yeah.
they knocked it out. Another thing to point out about these eyes that's really tricky to do, but really smart on Lego's part and the graphic designer, is they are both the exact same.
Yes.
And I guess I mean, like, they're symmetrical,
Yeah.
perfectly symmetrical. And that's great because then you can use these for other things. It just makes it a more versatile piece for
Yep.
other builds. So that's something I think is really great, is they kept that in mind when designing these eyes. They wanted to make sure that it could be used in a variety of different ways, not just for this wolf.
I love that, and it's such a smart decision. There are a couple sets where that's not the case, and if you
Mhm.
mix up the eyes, it looks really weird. So one would be Grogu from Star Wars, and it's I was trying to find him in my room real quick to show you, but I don't have him right here. But it is funny if you swap the eyes. So I was thrilled to see, oh, it's just one print,
Yep,
which
yep.
is
The
also
same piece.
like a hard thing to do, to design one print that works for both of the eyes. So really
Yeah,
good.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't get to see that print until it was ready to go. So I know they were working hard on that to make it work without it being too goofy or anything. So
Yeah.
yeah, I thought they did such a good job with everything. The wolf, but I mean, one of my favorite parts is the car, the truck. It's just, I mean, this is uh this is what will introduce you to the set when you get started, and it's just such a good way um, to get you into building with Lego. Like, you can learn so much just from building this one
Absolutely.
vehicle. So
Yeah, I want to show one quick thing with this too. So on the front of this, you can see we've got the fender and we've got two stickers. Oh, there we go, here and here. This fender in the middle, there we go, is recessed just a little bit. You can see it's like barely pushed back in there. That's actually a really complicated design challenge. And so we call it snot building, which is studs not on top. And that's where you're using the studs sideways to kind of build outwards. And there's ways to do that with brackets and with bricks. And just using a bracket instead of a brick makes some like slight changes. In this case, it worked perfectly to have that recessed. when I've been brick sculpting, I've also found sometimes I need to swap different parts that I'm using because it's recessed just enough and I need it to go out more or whatever. So like those types of things, it seems simple when you're building it, but the design behind it is so complex.
Mhm.
I loved the shaping of all of it. And one little detail that I love the most is this little tiny gap here that's
Mhm.
perfect with like right above the wheel
Yep.
base. Like that's exactly what it would look like
Yep.
on one of these old
It,
school trucks.
it
Like
gives it such dimension. Yeah, for
yes,
sure.
it really
Yeah.
does. So
Mhm.
really,
Yeah.
really
And then, oh yeah, uh, I'm gonna selfishly point out that's my birthday as well.
great. Ah, so cool.
Yeah, 13 September 1992. Yeah,
Ah, I love that.
which
Oh,
yeah. So
that's so fun.
happy about that. That was very
Yeah.
cool.
Good
Yeah.
stuff. One of the things I was most impressed with this build is the complex angle that we get for the roof. Can you use your tablet to show like above it,
Yeah.
like to show that angle? I want people
Totally.
to see.
Yeah, so this is something that again, like it's hard. It was hard in my submission. I didn't do this in my submission because it's so hard, and or I'm just yeah, I'm still learning so much in my own building techniques. But there's a lot of math involved once you start to build off stud. Basically, you're kind of going off the grid here by going at an angle.
Yeah.
So you can see. Sorry, let me move the light. You can see what we're talking about right here. It juts out, and then you have to get back onto the stud here. So there are wedge plates here, which are just plates that are, have that angle. But what the challenge is this whole section, the facade right here, that can't just, be stuck there. You have to use hinges,
Yeah.
which there are some recolors in this dark orange.
Ooh,
Um,
cool. Okay.
yeah, which would be the I believe the hinge. It's just the hinge that's in here somewhere.
Yeah.
That's used to achieve that angle. And then you can make the angle, but what's hard is covering the gaps. So yeah, so it's so elegant. I mean,
It
it's
is.
perfect right there. Sorry, it's the shadow, but same thing over here. You have to make these now look like they connect,
Yep.
even though it really they shouldn't, if you're
Yeah.
thinking in squares. And so they use a little cheese wedge piece right here
Mhm.
to perfectly connect the balcony to this section.
Yeah.
And I can't talk enough about how good this looks and how hard that is.
Yeah.
And it's a really fun part of the build, along with this frame here, which
Yeah.
is not easy to achieve and make strong.
Mhm.
So Lego has to make sure that their products are strong enough to pick up and play with, and maybe have a kid play with, and not be frustrating while you're building. It needs to be strong the whole time. And so to make this floating frame around the windows, which is
Yeah.
super iconic to the actual architecture of this house,
Absolutely. Yeah.
is also an achievement. But my favorite design choice that also came very late was the roof up top.
Yes.
Yeah, this was my favorite part because, again, in my submission, it looked a little bit more like this, where you see all the studs.
Yeah.
But you see when you have these wedge plates, you can't put tiles
Mhm.
on here. The tiles would be like these, smooth with no studs.
Yep.
You can't just put tiles on there because you don't have really, you kind of do, but you don't have wedge tiles.
Yep.
So you can't just cover these up and make it still look smooth.
Yeah.
So originally this top roof, like my submission, had a bunch of studs on it because you have another angle here.
Mhm.
And that it's fine, but it definitely kind of takes away that elegance and the kind of modern design look. So this solution, I think, is just ingenious, and it's bricks built that would normally be built stacked on each other like this,
Yep.
and using slopes and inverted slopes
Mhm.
turned on their side. So in a way, it's like, the ultimate snot. And
Yeah, yeah.
and then it doesn't even connect to the building. It's held in place by these light fixtures,
Yeah.
which perfectly fit. It's hard with that perfectly fit in the building to keep it from sliding around. So it locks in just with friction.
Yeah.
And the reason that it opens in two parts, which is really interesting to learn about, is one, of course, yeah, you can just access part of the rooms up front or up top.
Yep.
But if they were to be connected as one piece, it would be too heavy, and it would start to, it would flex,
Yep.
and be more likely to break.
Sure.
So just by putting tiles on one, and then using snot bricks over here, again, there's so much to consider here.
Yeah.
Then it will fit perfectly with no seam. So
Yeah.
I love that feature. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Thank you for showing those. I wanted people to see and experience before they build it how cool the design pieces are. And honestly, if you build Lego sets regularly, you start to learn some of these different skills, but a lot of them are very complex skills to master. And I would say, especially those like angles like this, to do it in a way that looks smooth and connected beautifully without the gaps and without the magic that connects them on the inside showing through. So this is a masterpiece in that sense. I love that you mentioned the part recolors with the hinges. So hinges don't hinge pieces are pieces that do this, right? They only come in certain colors. So Lego fans love to see when there's new part colors or when there's new parts altogether. And Philip asked the question, are there any completely new parts to this set? And I'll modify that as well and say any other part recolors that you
there are, I believe there's another recolor. I can't remember right now what it is. It's just another a piece in dark orange, I believe. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
And there are no brand new parts in this set. So the only other unique thing would again be the print on the eyes, which you could use to make new creatures or whatever you want. But it's again a testament to the skill of these designers that they're able to take parts that already exist and they're able to make something like this. So
it's so
yeah. And I think this technique is worth pointing out too. The tree here.
Oh, please. Here,
It's important that it was really important that Bella and Edward were able to hang on to the tree.
Yes.
Which I didn't do in my design, my submission, and it would have looked funky with my massive tree.
Sure.
So this was a challenge, I know, from my talk with Laura, that just to make it work to where there's something for them to hold on to without making it look like there's just a gap. And this part usage is really nice to just kind of mask the open bars here for them to hold on to.
I love that.
Yeah. So
that is so cool.
Something interesting.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to display ours. Well, really, we just finished building it, so in general, but also to display it with them hanging in the tree. So excited for that. And I love the piece inclusion that allows her to be like on his back. That's like it's a piece that can go between the minifigure head and the torso.
Yeah, that's right here.
So cool. Yeah, so you can see here. Let me zoom in again real quick for people to see. That's this piece. So sometimes we'll see this in superhero sets where there's like wings on a character or where they're like flying with fire, propelling them and stuff. But in this case, and
now they can jump. They can just like, they can run so fast now.
The way that they adapted minifigures to be super speedy for this, excellent for sure.
Yeah, that took a lot of work, talking about getting Jacob's transformation just right. Check out my Instagram if you want to see about that.
For sure.
Yeah, and I wanted to show off the back. You don't get to see a lot of images of the back, but I think the back looks stunning as well, especially if you're familiar with the movie. There are some scenes that take place in this back patio area, like for the wedding, things like that. So this is a great area where you can continue to play. There's another balcony back here that you can put some minifigs on, and you can see into the house really from any angle. Yeah, and I wanted to point out one more thing, if that's okay.
Yes, of course.
One suggestion I had that I loved and was very, very happy made it in was on the first floor here. It's simple, but just windows right here.
Yes. Okay.
This was a section of the build that again was kind of like, we don't know yet what we're doing there. We're still figuring it out. We're still kind of looking out where we want to put some stuff. And so whoops. Okay. So there's this was walled off originally.
Okay.
And I thought, having just more windows into the house, it's a little bit more of what you expect to see at the entrance walking up is just all glass. And I really wanted this birthday gift to be here to be able to give Bella the paper cut that she needs.
Of course, yes, very important to the story.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, so were there specific scenes that you were wanting to have referenced in the Cullen House final build? So I know you mentioned some of the design elements like the baseball and gear and that kind of stuff, but were there any scenes that you're like the gift is from that scene with the paper cut? We've got talk about those.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely the piano
Oh my gosh.
needed to be there. That was one that I really wanted in my submission, and yeah, I mean, for the most part, which was great, is when I came to the first design meeting, they pretty much had everything I was hoping would be in here, which was awesome. Yeah. And I learned a little bit about the design of the bench is important. Lego has certain standards, so they had to make sure that there's at least one stud in between the two seats so that you can have, because they wanted to make sure that Edward and Bella could sit on this and their arms wouldn't clash with each other.
Yeah.
So that's something. Yeah, that's something you have to think about.
Yeah.
And then obviously Edward's room is iconic, and I don't think there's anything that I was hoping would be in here that was not included, which is hard to do while keeping it at a scale that would fit on a bookshelf and not destroy one's wallet too heavily.
Well, it is such an incredible build altogether, and we loved building it together. So Philip's my husband, he and I built it over the last yesterday, and then finished building it today. I opened up the remaining bags that I had last night so I could just share the minifigs. So if you want a deeper dive on the minifigs, I did share a post that goes through some zoomed in pictures and some video that shows the front and back prints of their faces and outfits on my Instagram. I will also be sharing in my stories on Instagram tonight, and so those will be up for 24 hours, but I'll add them as a story highlight as well for a little bit on my page if people want to see the build experience, bag 1, bag 2, bag 3. So as we were building them, when we got to a point where I was like, okay, enough has been built on here that I want to show some details, I zoomed in on some of those pieces too. So if you'd like to see some of that, feel free to hop on over to Instagram. Mine is Brady Joyner Bricks, same as this YouTube. Where can people find you, Nick?
They can find me primarily on Instagram. That's where I'm at the most. Lobster Thermidor Builds.
Love it.
You'll see it right here.
Yes.
And I just started a TikTok. If you want to follow me on that, it would be much appreciated.
Yes.
If you have access to it, I guess.
Of course.
And I'm on YouTube under the same username for both of those. And of course, Lego Ideas. I'm still submitting things on there. So if you want to go support any future projects of mine, I would love that. Which I also wanted to ask you, Justin. I know that you've submitted an idea, at least one, on Lego Ideas. Are you able to talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. So the first idea I submitted, and I forgot about this until you were talking about your first idea. I did the Mushnick's floral shop from Little Shop of Horrors.
Little Shop, yeah.
So that was my first one ever. It got like 400 votes, not a ton. It didn't make it to 10,000, but I was so excited and had so much fun with it. And I still have it built, and it's in our living room with our other modular buildings. Nice. And then the one that I have now is, it's called Holiday Buddies. I have some behind me. let's see. Actually, I have a lot of them. But they're little brick built characters that there's one for every month of the year. So February's coming up. This is my heart buddy. You can see that he's sad because he's a broken heart. But also you could flip his mouth upright to be happy. I've got a Christmas tree, and this is Carol Bell is her name, and she's got high heels on, which is fun. And then I have this fun little candy corn. So those are 3 of the 12. Yeah.
I have to call out Drew Sharp. He's my favorite.
Oh my gosh.
Do you have Drew?
I don't have Drew Sharp with me. So the full collection of them are on display at our Bricks and Minifigs in town. And so these are duplicates that I was able to build a second copy with parts I had. And I didn't have the parts for Drew Sharp, but he is for September and he's a pencil for back to school. So those I would love if people want to vote for them. Thank you for mentioning it.
Yeah, I voted 100%. I voted on those a long time ago. So I love that idea. Yeah.
So sweet. I'm going to drop the link in here. And if you would do me the honor of voting, that'd be great if anybody wants to. I will say that there's not like a fan club and fan group for Holiday Buddies like there is for Twilight. So I don't have the rats behind me in the same way.
Hey, there might be some crossover though. Maybe.
Right? There might. Yeah, so we'll see. But thank you for asking. I love Lego Ideas. I love how it's a great way for people to share some of their fun creations. And one thing I would say, as well as just being involved in the Instagram community, there are so many lovely, wonderful people who will give you positive reinforcement and kindness about your submissions and ideas. So if you're nervous to put anything out there, I say do it. Just like jump in and put something out there too. So Philip says, excuse me, I'm the president of the Holiday Fan Club. That's very true. Our house is always decorated for every holiday year round. That's what inspired a lot of these builds, which is fun. And I just wanted to build some like clever little characters. So, and then once I got 1 or 2 done, I was like, wait, these need to be like a whole year's worth. So
Yeah.
So anyway, lots of fun things that you'll see on Lego Ideas. A lot of them are related to IPs and movies, of course, but this one is not. So, and then let me see. There was something else. Was there anything else? Oh, I wanted to ask if you worked on getting the double clutch push to happen in the truck. If that was a design element.
No, but you know what I did want to try to do, but we just couldn't figure out in a good way I wanted to put a dent in the door.
Oh my gosh.
I wanted there to be a dent that you could take off or put back on.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of things in this set that I'm like, and I think it's the idea being that, there are certain things you can do yourself, like you could definitely dent up, just one. I mean, Lego does not endorse me saying this, but like you could scratch up a piece and put it in there, then have Edward come and fix it for you. But there was that was one thing. There were so many Easter eggs that we talked about, and we just tried to get as many in as we could that still made sense and kept you kind of in one space, so that you could reenact some scenes from this movie. And just the other day, I reenacted the whole first movie for my daughter with the minifigures, and she is hooked on she's 6, by the way. So she's into it. So it's a great way to bond with your kids too.
Yeah. Of course. Yes. Builds for all ages, which is super fun. Well, thank you so much for your time and for spending time with all of the wonderful people who joined. Thank you, everyone who joined as well. If I can be so bold as to ask you to like this, that'd be wonderful. And feel free to share it also with others that you think should watch it. I would love for more people to get to know the brilliance of Nick and get to meet him because he's so fantastic. Follow him on all his socials. So Lobster Thermidor Builds, is that the same on TikTok and Instagram?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Perfect. Awesome. I'm Brady Joiner Bricks on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram. YouTube, I use this space mostly for doing set reviews, for doing opportunities like this. This was a rare and special one because I knew Nick personally, so I had this awesome opportunity. But when I have opportunities to do set reviews and whatnot, I use that space on YouTube because they can be longer form. And I also use this for tutorials. So if you want to learn how to build some different things too, that's what I share here. But would love to connect with all of you on all the different platforms. So please definitely do. My big tagline is build kindness. I think that we need more kindness in the world. So go out there and build kindness. And any last words from you, Nick?
Just thank you. Anybody who's watching this, if you supported this idea when I submitted it, or if you just followed along and ever submitted a comment or a like, all of that was a major contribution, the most important contribution in this becoming a real Lego set. So I had one silly idea and you guys really made it happen. So I can't express how grateful I am to anybody who had any part in this. And I can't wait to see everybody put it together and start playing with it.
I love that so much. And you're absolutely right. It takes so many people to get these things across that finish line to being a real set. Oh, one last thing I wanted to ask you. Will there be any like events where people can come and meet you and you'll be signing the boxes or anything? Or
well, if you see me at Century on Greenback on February 8th, I'm gonna go watch Twilight with my wife at the movie theater.
Yeah.
So I'll be there. I'll sign whatever you want. But no, the signing events for fan designers I learned is typically for European, usually European fan designers, and I think they do that less often now. But if I'm going to try to make it to a Twilight convention in September. Forever Twilight and Forks does every year they do a huge festival. So I'm going to try to go to that. If you happen to go to that and see me, I'd be happy to sign your instruction booklet. Or I'll be at some Lego conventions on the other end of the passion if you want to come see some of my other builds and stuff. So or you can again direct message me on Instagram if you want to mail me an instruction booklet with return postage. I'd be happy to sign it and send it back to you. Otherwise, just enjoy the set and or just send me a hey on my social media.
Love it. Well, the next time I see you, I'm going to have you sign this by your face.
That's me.
So thrilling to open the instructions book and be like, I know him. That's my friend. So cool. Again, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you all for joining. I know I saw lots of people kind of popping in and out. And if you're watching this after the stream, thank you so much for rewatching this as well. Thank you, Nick, for the time. And yeah, bye everyone. Build kindness. See ya.